The next topic we would like to discuss is the topic of decarbonization in two important sectors. This is transport and heating sector. So now I would like to invite here the expert in the area of transport, Nataliia Volyk, who represents Ecoaction NGO.
Good day to all of you. So right now we will speak about the transport sector and the key points about the transport actually in two main aspects. So it's the aspect of communal transport of cities and also the cargo shipping. So, speaking about the first point about the communal transport, it's really important for all of the cities in the world. If we speak about city mobility, how people could get from the housing to the place of work to the place of entertainment and relaxation. And of course, it's really important for Ukrainian cities in the context of renovation and rebuilding. So here you can see two main points about Kyiv. So we have more private vehicles in the cities, and take into account that the public transport before the full-scale invasion was not really successful. And right now it has even less opportunities for development. And because of the fact that it's not really reliable, it's not very comfortable, because of different factors, people just choose private transport, and it creates lots of problems, and it creates lots of different challenges. So where there'll be new, for example, regions, new districts where will be more actual damages to the roads, and we need to improve the city mobility so that part of problems will be just mitigated with the public transportation. And also, if we speak about the emissions from the public transportations, you also can say us and to remember electric vehicles, but it's not the universal thing because they also need to be parked somewhere. There's also metal that is being heated and actually creates this greenhouse effect. And we need to understand that also electric vehicles have tires that also generate this hard particles. So we are advocating for the improvement of public transportation sphere and also light private transport like bicycles, scooters, and so on. So there were parts of problems there. So in general, why we're speaking about it, because we have already mentioned Paris Agreement, and also we have the EU regulation about the reform of actually society important transportation, and it's one of the markers of Euro integration that we need to improve. And also we need to sign the legislation and to create this reform of the main functionality of public transportation. And you speak about national transport strategy that was signed the last year. Also, the part of the strategy was there that was attached to the decarbonization process. And one of the elements of this strategy and the way to creating these goals is the creation of the plans of sustainable urban mobility. And this plan should be created by communities with more than 50,000 citizens. And speaking about a specific point of public important transportation, what is the main thing here is that there should be the competitive basis for contracts with carriers, because right now this process does not operate on a normal level. And apart from that, So that's the basis. So we also need to have the clear compensation formula for carriers. We need to have transportation in work. And for the actually users, there should be environmentally friendly and energy efficient transport and stable connection between different communities. And also should be predictable. Also speaking about the competition and compensation, the key thing here is that right now the municipalities, the local authorities, they can create competitions for specific routes for carriers, and different communal or private carriers should have the specific requirements of competitions, and these requirements are being created by the municipality. Speaking about the vehicle itself, the actually number of vehicles on the particular route, and also take into account the schedule. So taking all of that into account, we choose the company and the local governance and the executive power there actually takes a look at the uh, actually public transportation sphere here, and they also have the authority to stop them from doing the public transportation if they does not work according to the requirements. So speaking about the particular routes that municipalities create the competition for, there could be opportunity for communal and private carriers to get there. Apart from the fact is it profitable for the transportation or not. So there could be some very not profitable routes, for example, from school to some social service center, and there will be lots of people who do not pay for their transportation because of their social status. And in this case, the municipality should compensate to the carrier the lack of actual income that the carrier could have gotten on other routes. So we go into other thing here. Important is transparency in works. So we have the mechanism of actual cashless payment and other points that will help the municipality to understand how what is the quality of carrier, how much money did it make, and what was the expected income. And for the carrier, it will help to understand how often the route is being used by people, how many kilometers the drivers have passed, and for carriers also the opportunity to look at the state of vehicles and to take maintenance measures if needed. And also for the end user is the opportunity to get the transportation of high quality with buses with low flooring or trolley buses with low flooring. And also that's the level of service that is in European countries. So we have actually researched the examples of three countries, of three capital cities of countries that have the similar socialistic past, and also problems with different public transportation. So in Budapest, they, they decided what is actually important here. So each of the regulations should be passed, but the municipalities can change them a bit according to their own needs. So that gives them more actually flexibility, speaking about the functionality of the public transportation. So in Budapest, they have created a separate communal enterprise, the carrier. And on the first stage, the contract with this company was signed for 2 years, and that allowed the city to understand in general and to redistribute the infrastructural logistics in the city for the passengers. So in the course of a few years in the city, instead of old cars, buses, really inconvenient, they have new buses, modern ones. And if you take into account the buses specifically, they have the newest models with low flooring, with new ecological standards. Uh, Speaking about gasoline, but right now there are also changes on trolley buses and tram level, and the level of satisfaction of customers has raised after this change of public transportation. So what Ukraine can take from it, and each of the cities of Ukraine can take from this experience of this transit process of actually change. Each of the cities can understand, they have the opportunity to understand what model is actually good for them. And these businesses can adapt to new needs of the market. And also for businesses, that's the opportunity to renew their transportation, to buy new vehicles, to adapt the transportation that we have right now. In Riga, up till 2020, there were also buses, uh, private buses and also buses, communal buses. But 2020, the Riga authorities have decided to actually stop cooperation with private carriers. And it was the great window of opportunities because there were less passengers. And for the actual customers, the spirit was they were really calm with taking into account all this process. So in the process of actually refusing private carriers, the public transportation, the public carrier was looking at the transportation that they have, and they adapted the transportation they have to the routes of the private carriers. So what we have here, taking into account the transportation itself, so that not all the public transportations. So in order not to change the whole routes and not to change the customer behavior, we have the opportunity, for example, to work with trolley buses and for them to actually change the route a bit, so and to take actually mm, customers from other location, so that we will be able to actually take people who didn't have route earlier, and also generally for the passengers, the time of movement from different points does not change, and actually their transportation habits also does not change. And also another model is in Tbilisi. So they have at the same time the private and public transportation. So blue ones are the actually private transportation, and green is the public transportation. So the difference is only in the color. So taking into account the quality and the transport itself, the state, they have air conditioning, they have lots of different information boards and different system of payment. They are the same basically here. So this model can exist in Ukraine, like the coexistence of public and private transport operators. So for us, it's really useful because right now the public transport operators, they don't have enough drivers that can go and drive on specific routes, but the private transport operators, they have lots of drivers, and we need to actually involve more drivers into doing this public transportation. And the lessons of Tbilisi, we can also take in them into account. And one important thing is the updating of transportation was being made able with the help of international funds, and we also can discuss it with the transport operators of Tbilisi. We can have a conversation with them how to redistribute the costs of municipalities, because according to the research that will be soon published from Bankwatch, they have analyzed to which extent right now the municipalities use the money from different programs, and how effective it is. So these are the opportunities for development that we have right now. The next stage that we have here, speaking about the mobility and improvement of transportation in the context of lowering the emissions, we can speak about the introduction of a toll road system. So also should be research on electric mobility and development of alternative fuels. I also want to say that on all of these points in the Ministry of Development of Communities and Territories, there are lots of work being done, and we are in the constant contact with them about development, sustainable solutions that will help us to make the number or lower of emissions. And these improvements will also support the logistical processes and support economy and actual development of Ukraine. And it's really important to mention. Speaking about the huge transport vehicles, yeah, take into account that the percentage of trucks is only 2% of all the vehicles on the roads of Europe, but take into account the emissions that they produce is 25% of all the emissions on transport. So it's really important to speak about the number that is being generated, and with the data on Europe, but also in the context of military, actually statistics, and we need to understand how logistics was changed because of the military invasion, and lots of actually cargo is being transported by specifically trucks there. So I also base my decisions here on the scenarios of tolling that was, and this research was done by the different organization, and we were looking into different tolling scenarios that are effectively operating in the European Union, and what which ones will be really useful for Ukraine. So the key thing here is that we are speaking about the payment for using roads only by trucks. So we are not speaking about making money on people who just drive the roads. We are only speaking about the businesses and how they and their influence and the trucks. So apart from the emissions from trucks, we also have the problem that trucks they also being overloaded, and it also damages the road. And we don't have enough money in fund of roads, and the sum of money is lowering every day, and we have lots of problems with quality of roads. And we still have understanding that Ukraine should improve the roads to connect to European countries, and the system of tolling and paying for the road by trucks actually can help to find this financing and to give it to the improvement of the roads themselves. So if we take into account the first statistics, so the tolling that is actually created for the trucks that weigh more than 12 tons, and they produce the actual income for the country for more than 200,000 euros. And also, if we give this toll for all the trucks that are more than 3 tons, it will also be high. We also have a model in Germany that has different categories of emissions or other factors that help to improve the number of actually tax that is going to the budget. And apart from that, it also encourages the company to take the trucks with better Euro standard, with less emissions, and also stimulates the logistical companies to create the logistical routes better, so that they can use less roads and optimize the transportation. And it also makes the actually lower if we speak about the emissions. And also what is was mentioned here in this system is that even with the creation of tolling for transport cargo, if we're speaking, for example, about different types of cargo for usage of customers, so this price will not change. And according to the data in Germany that was provided in Germany, so on the example of some general products, the price has raised only on 20 euro cents, and it could be just a small mistake in the GDP, because we could not take that into account. It's a great scenario and a great mechanism of how we can have more money in the country and how to distribute this money according to the different strategic needs.
And in cooperation with other organizations, we have developed a roadmap on sustainable recovery, and we have encompassed 6 key sectors, including transportation. What is important is that these are solutions that can be implemented within a short period of time till 2027. And the public organizations that participated in the discussion are ready to provide support to the ministry. And you see that from the things I have already mentioned, we are talking about the roads, development of public transportation, ensuring high quality public-private partnerships, and financial sustainability. To conclude, I would like to say that these are recommendations, but as NGO, we do not only create recommendations, but in fact, we are trying to cooperate with the Ministry of Development on transportation and improving mobility. We participate in the sessions of the working groups. We are engaged in the development of strategic documents, and we introduce our amendments to the draft laws, and we cooperate with the relevant stakeholders for all these things not to be just mentioned on paper, but to be implemented and changed. And we want to ensure high quality format. We try to avoid a situation when something is stated in documents and a totally different situation is in practice. In order to avoid situations like this, we are trying to become active on all the stages and assist with implementation. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much, Natalia, for a very interesting and informative presentation. Now we can cover your questions a bit later. And also, I would like to remind you that you may ask your questions in the chat. This is for our online participants. Now, I would like to discuss the next issue, and this is the possibility for district heating and Challenges and opportunities. We shall also discuss tariff formation, role of renewable energy sources, and Mykhailo Lukianyk will be speaking on the topic. He is heating supply expert representing Ecoclub. Just for you not to get bored, I'll probably tell you some context. Why do we need district heating and why we have to fight for this? How do I work with it? Currently, district heat supply consists of certain heat producers before the war, and these are the data from 2021, 2022. So this some part was the biggest part was this state ownership, and there was private ownership about 25%. Now the number of municipal enterprises has reduced and the number of private ones have increased. The heat is mainly supplied by the population. A bit it is also consumed by the buildings and the commercial enterprises, and for them the price is the highest. For example, in Rivne, for population, the price is 1900 for 1 gigacalorie, and for the commercial enterprises, it is about 10,000. And in some cities, the situation is totally different. For example, in Cherkasy, where we have the local authorities who are active, they managed to invest a lot into this area, and the commercial enterprises want actually to join the district heating because it is usually safe and sound. So they are interested in joining. But this is more an exception than a rule, because that's good that we have such a positive example in Cherkasy. And this is the utility company that has shown certain prospects for the nearest 10 years. But the enterprise is headed by the local deputy. It is definitely supported by the regional council, and they can have some grant monies, grant funds. But again, this is an exception. In the majority of cases, the situation is not that good. Natural gas generation before the war, it was 65-75%. Now it is 70-80%. Coal has reduced almost up to zero. Biomass. Now the state has given the possibility to export biomethane, because at the beginning of the war it was forbidden. And biomethane is expensive in comparison with gas, but it performs the same function. However, in Europe, it is environmental one, therefore it is bought very with great willingness. And we do not pay attention to something else, to the other ones. Now, dynamics of district heating consumption. We see that district heating consumption has decreased almost twice. That means we have twice less consumers. And that means that people disconnect from central heating, from district heating. Definitely they want to save, but the statistics also says that the number of consumers has decreased also twice. These are official data produced by USAID. They have a white book and it says exactly this. So what it says that people are use individual heating. For example, in Uzhgorod, this is the case for the entire city. And well, this is the decision of the administration of the city. So the city is fully disconnected from the district heating. And now we may ask, okay, so that's it. For example, we have an acting mayor in our city. Now there are two prices. One tariff that is paid and another price that is economically feasible. So when the moratorium is lifted, the price will be in place. And I tell him, so the moment the moratorium is off, people will disconnect. And he says, let it be. So that's serious. And there are 200 people present at the session. They just say, let them disconnect. It will be easier for us. And this is more of a political problem when the mayors do not understand the fact that district heating for the city may be a great resource and it can be actually profitable for the city. A couple of weeks ago, we visited Germany, the town of Bitterfeld. 30 years ago, they started working on district heating reform, and several years ago they finished it, and they have an enterprise. Well, that town was a coal industry support city, and the population actually left the city. The buildings were demolished because there were no people to live there. So why I mentioned this point? We had an excursion and we were brought to a swimming pool. Okay, 50,000 people population, and they have a huge swimming pool. And I asked the head of the heat supply enterprise who the swimming pool belongs to. A municipal swimming pool, and who actually maintains it? Heat supply enterprise. So the budget is 300,000 profit and more than 1 million is spent on it. Well, but this is heat supply, gas and energy. Everything is just in one enterprise. So they do not have external supply of electricity. They are part of general electricity network, but they generate it themselves. They have cogeneration, wind energy and solar energy, but they are autonomous and they actually earn so much that they can maintain that swimming pool for the community. So this is our future in 10 or 15 years. This should be our future. So it is critically wrong to think that these enterprises are a burden. We have to save them. We have to help them. The point is that without those enterprises, green energy transition is just impossible. It's much easier to use heat pump or biogas installation than, for example, to have a heat pump in each and every flat. It's not a solution. I'm talking about individual heating. What about the solutions used in other countries? They banned it. If you want to install individual heat supply, you can do it only by means of a heat pump. So if you are not part of district heating, you are supposed to have a heat pump. You cannot use gas boilers, individual gas boilers. Why it's not the case with us? So the dynamics is bad and it is still going down. And the key point for this is tariff policy. We'll talk about it a bit later. But now I would like to address two key issues in the industry. The first one is buildings, and the second one is producer and transportation. The buildings are old. Our buildings were built in 1960s, 90s. So we have old heating system, hydro elevators, and this is something that cannot work under modern conditions, cannot adequately generate the amount of heating needed by the building. The building may be underheated or overheated, but the modern system used abroad is a computerized system that has a switch. A switch measures the external temperature and either allows the heat or bans the heating to the building. Every building has its own circulation system. For example, I can regulate it in my flat. I do not want to have 21 degrees, but I want to have 15 degrees, right? And I will save some money. So the building system in Ukraine is far from perfect. It requires refurbishment and modernization and many other things. I'll get back to 2015. We had a gas reform at that time, when we had Yatsenyuk as prime minister. And at that time, we had the so-called heat loans. Till 2018, it was a huge program. People started modernizing their buildings, installing new windows, and so on and so forth. And even at that time was the leading city in Ukraine, because I'm from Rivne. What happened in 2019? There was COVID, and then the full-scale invasion, and now we have the moratorium. Since 2019, the Energy House program was launched. I was an advisor to this program. I know it pretty well. And a miracle happened. Every year, the number of applications was going down. Why? Because there was a moratorium. People didn't know what for they needed those hit loans if the price was not going up. In 2015, when the price was more or less was going up, people understood, people took loans, and return on investments period was very brief one. But now when the prices are not growing, why I should replace my gas boiler with a pump heat? Because the return on investment on pump heat in comparison with gas boiler is 35 years. I will probably wait for the period when the price is growing. And the subsidy period, the people who have subsidies in Europe is about 15%. In Ukraine is about 5%. This is about why we have such situation with the heating. So buildings are problematic, and it seems to me that for the 6 years, less than 1,000 buildings applied for a certain serious refurbishment and modernization works. Before the war, there were from 180 to 100,000 multi-storied buildings that were in Ukraine. It means that less than 0.5% did modernization for 5 years. What will we have in 5 years? Just plus 0.5% more, just 1% in total. So this scheme is unreal. Why? Very cheap heat. What do problems in the area do we face? I have divided them into 4 elements. So the first one is tariff formation and moratorium. We have to separate two things. So tariff formation is the way how the prices are formed, and we have the moratorium that does not allow prices to grow. So you cannot increase the price. It is still the same it was in 2019 or 2020. And you should do whatever you can. Probably the state will repay it to you a bit later. So just you should resolve this issue on your own. There is no money for you, just that. But tariff formation is something different. This is how the tariff was formed on the basis of certain rules. And in Ukraine, unfortunately, we have lots of rules. At least 2 key rules are important, on the basis of which heat producers may form their tariff. And the point is like this. If we do not go deep into the issue, the tariff formation is the following. As a producer, I'm not interested in my own modernization. I am interested in accumulating losses, because if I modernize myself, I will have to show this modernization, and next year I will have to reduce the tariff, or probably in 2 years I will have to reduce the tariff. So why I need to modernize myself? To have less profit, I'd better accumulate losses, and I will show these losses, and I will be reimbursed for the losses. This is one problem. Another one is that there is no interest in energy efficient measures on the part of consumers. I want you to take more gas and more heat as consumers. 70% of the price is the price of gas, and 30% is the cost of electricity, labor force, probably some investments, and so forth.
So selling heating, we just transferring the gas at this point. So these enterprises stopped being profitable at the beginning of 2020. So in 2023, only Cherkasy has shown some income, but that was it. So in 2023, there was a change on actual prices to the gas on cogeneration. And for the enterprises that produce heating on heat generation, they are not interested in gas anymore. They're only interested in electricity because the heat for uh, electrogeneration is much makes better money than the boiling facilities. So, and electricity is 22% more effective. So, what we have right now. So, in Ukraine, we have lots of cogeneration facilities, and the price of gas for generation is on that level. So, the actually facilities are not interested in producing heating; they are only interested in selling electricity at this point. And this way to get some money and actually uh, save money if we are speaking about the moratorium that we have here. The second thing is the equipment and uninsulated networks. So all of the equipment is really old, is outdated. So there are boiler rooms that have been working for 40 years. And I don't have the motivation to change it, for example. If there are some energetic directors that really want to change, they change all of the different aspects of boiler rooms and make them more effective. But on some of them, they can be effective for 60%, but other boiler rooms where some motivated directors that have changed something, they can have the effectiveness of 95%. On the enterprises where no one has done nothing with their networks, for example, in Dnipro, like we have 50% or 30% of losses, but in Zhytomyr it's 6-7%. You see the difference, and all of that affects the tariff, actually, the calculation of tariff. We get to the point, so if the moratorium will be stopped tomorrow, so tariff will be from 1,700 to 2,300. And in Cherkasy, the raise will be like 20% in Metro, and in Dnipro, it will be 150, 200%. So that is the situation in which we are going to. So we just say to people, you have paid 1,000 hryvnias, and right now you need to pay 2,500 because it's the October 2026. It's the last month when Ukraine should cancel moratorium because we won't see any more money. So what will lead it into? So effective enterprise that has done something, it won't change anything for them. They will be able to do something maybe with this problem. They can do some manipulations, but for the consumer, if I will need to pay like 700 hryvnias more, it will be all right. It will be it. But in Rivne, I had the highest tariff, and in lots of cities there were really high tariff, and after the moratorium it will be much higher even then. And as a result, we need to just to limit this price raising, or just to make the houses with individual heating, and there will be lots of queues to get some gas boilers in their own apartments. And there are also scenarios that could be possible. Why is that? Because tariffs are being introduced by the local council. before that, there were different facilities that did some checks, did some revisions, but right now nothing is being done. S- So right now we don't have such a check mechanism, and local governance uh, just create the tariffs that they need, and that's it. And this what communal enterprise will write in this document. So we have this two problems: the old networks, the actually unisolated networks, the tariff settings are all interconnected. So in order to create the correct system of tariffs will motivate, will actually support the customer not to uh, like to be secured from these many money manipulations. And the only difference in Ukrainian cities is the number of sums of money they manipulate with. So the system right now is really demotivating for the enterprises to do anything. So they don't have where to get money. So I go to the bank and bank shows us to show the income. And I say, I have a moratorium. I don't have any income. I have income only 5 years ago. And bank will say me, how we can give you a loan if you don't have any income? And the last 5 years, the heating enterprises did not have any access to actual income and money. And only right now we're getting some grants or some investments that help us to get some loans on the guarantees of local budget, something like that. So mm, actually, tomorrow there was a kind of event in Kyiv. And maybe enterprise will be able to work with such a mechanism, but it depends only on the enterprises that were successful in the last 10 years, that were actually doing something, that have counted their income and losses and so on. So it's speaking about the investments. And also the social habits, social behavior is only one complex issue that we have. So our citizens, the of course, they think that the communal services should be really cheap. That is the paradigm that we think about. So Soviet Union has said to us that the price should be low, and right now we still think about it. So in Germany, one of my friends, he used for two 20 liters more water than he was supposed to use, and he paid 2,000 euros a fee for that because everything is really actually pricey there, but we use a lot of actually communal services on a really high level. And I say that I will be, I don't know, going to the shower 3 times per day, even and take all of the hot water that I can, because why not? We were doing lots of technical researches on different equipment. If speaking about the heating pumps, and we have shown how actually uh, hospitals that have boilers before they started using heating pumps, and they have created hot water on each of the floors of the hospital actually. So we have changed to the all the pipes there, and it costs 1.3 million hryvnias there. And uh, till when there was the end of the project, they told us that we could have given us more money. And in 3.7 years, the uh, project actually became profitable. So we need right now to take money from the producers right now. Why the prices like that here? Because earlier we have used boilers and heating pumps are working only during summer. So the effectiveness of actual heating pump During summer, it gets 5 kilowatt of electricity. And we understand that for hospital, we can have it. And we also can put the medal for ourselves because each of the rooms in hospital gets the hot water. And we had this great project there. So, okay, if we speak about consequences. So in the years of independence, nothing was changed, basically. So the consumers continue to receive poor quality services. In cities, they don't have hot water. People buy electric boilers. In the case of blackouts, it's really great when we don't have enough energy and we use the uh, most ineffective system just to wash my hair. It really makes no sense because the systems right now works this way that even in course of war, we encourage our customers use the energy inefficiently. So in Rivne, we have hot water from December till April. That's it. Or like 4 months. And in these cities like Cherkas or some other cities, I think in Lviv, do you have hot water in Lviv? Centralized. I think you should have it on one of our events. Miss Yaroslava, she is the deputy on economic relations. So some of the cities where something is being done, they have retained this system and they don't forget about it. So traditionally, what is not really effective for a producer right now, because in Ukraine, if we stick to the technology, we have a four pipe system, and this system is not really effective because we need to change four pipes if there are some problems with them. Uh, Secondly, we need to insulate four pipes and change all four of them so that they will be effective. This third thing, so the actually producer of such heat and water, they are being changed and refurbished during summer, and in summer they just don't work. They've been cleaned, and it also raises the corrosion. So in Europe, they just don't use this system. They left only two pipes for heating, and during non-heating season, they just not use the heating in summer, and they just take water from the heating system. So in summer they don't need to have this heating system. They take hot water from that system, and this approach is much better because they don't need this pumping equipments that will raise the water for 14th floor, for example. They will just need the water from heating system. That will be it, and effectiveness is much higher there. So the price of gigacalorie is like 4,000. In Ukraine, economically, if they do not reuse and use it in really inefficient way, it's like 3,000, 3,200. These are not really crazy numbers for them, for a European country that buys gas on the market prices. So that burns waste and so on. So it's natural that the number of the users that will just refuse using centralized heating, it will create higher prices. So the less consumers I will have, of course, I also need to provide heating to them. But if you don't take money from lots of people, like in Ternopil, there is such a situation. They allowed the consumers just to stop using the centralized heating, and they only have 20% of all housing that has this centralized heating up till now. And uh, they had lots of problems there because people who had centralized heating pay 50, 60 hryvnias per square meter, and people who don't have centralized heating, they pay nothing, and that's it. Like in December, before New Year, they just actually put the boiler. Why? Because well, there were houses nearby that had the centralized heating, so why do we need to put it? So in Kyiv, for example, if there will be one room like that, it will be all right. If there will be lots of apartments that will be disconnected, it will be a really big problem. And when the centralized, when this city, this particular house, apartment house, won't pay much money to the budget, we can just say that we can shut him off from the centralized heating, and that's it. So in a case when we don't have investment, there will be lots of damages done and it will be made higher. And it will lead to the raise of prices for gigacalorie, for example, of heating. Because we have really bad pipes right now, and changing of pipes to the insulated, it's not really economically viable decision to make. Because the term of actually payback of such an equipment is not really viable here. So if we speak about different pumps and so on, but speaking about pipes, they don't have this payback because they are huge. The price is really high. So we have counted how to make this heating pump in Khmelnytsky, and the heating pump price is like 20 million, 30 million. And the price of this previously isolated pipes has the same price. So the heating pump will be standing there, and the payback was like 10 years, but with pipes, the payback has become 20 years. So the actual loans are becoming much higher. So the loans right now of all the state enterprise are getting higher. So after us, the enterprise, they still don't have some executive orders for the cities, for towns, but there are some actually court decisions made. So take into account the actually unavailability of money, of difference that has been paid. It could just block the accessibility and work of all the enterprises. And what they can do about this, that's a really great question. So speaking about general energy, so if we speak about renewable source of energy, why do we need to work with that? So one of the head of my enterprise will say, I will never refuse using gas if the gas will cost me like 10 hryvnias. Why should I refuse it? So we have some alternative energy, but uh, the part of this alternative energy does not uh, take lots of customers and does not give lots of income. So taking this price of gas, taking this moratorium, it just stops the specific usage of actual renewable source of energy in this particular sphere of heating. So in we can just provide the heating and make a lot of money of them. So Lithuania just make a lot of money on cogeneration. So Germany uses for 90% the sun collectors and to actually make money on that. And when the sun is given heat, they just create the accumulation for 100 degrees and just give this water to the consumers. And if it's not enough, they can just turn on the cogeneration. So it's a really pricey solution, but in the process of actual implementation, when when it should be operable for 50 years, this decision is really interesting and it's really great. Of course, we need some initial investments. So let's now speak about the actual sad things. So the sphere right now is really big discrepancy right now. So what we need to have, so we don't have any systemic decisions. We have some lowly decisions that are in Ukraine, and some of the enterprises show really great results. And some cities, it's Черкассy, Житомир, Vinnytsia, Khmelnytsky, some parts of Chernihiv, Lviv also is not that bad. Also Zviagely has some great results, Kamyanets-Podilsky. So there are cities that have started modernizing the system, but from which funds? So with the money from local funds, also from the grant money. And this motivation is not economical. This is the individual motivation. It is the actually motivation of the directors of enterprises, but it's not the motivation from the system that should stimulate the producers to do these changes. So on these enterprises, there are lots of things being introduced. Lots of the heads have gone with us to Lithuania, to Poland. They have gone to the facilities and say that for that money they could make a lot of enterprises. So what can we do right now? So up till the fourth quarter, we need to get ready the population to the fact that the tariff will be higher. And actually, government is really afraid of that. They are really afraid of social unrest that will be there. So the civic activists will do that. So we are creating the communication strategy. Maybe after that, we will be able to be on the topic when civil society speak about the rising prices, but we are speaking about the tariffs that will be rising. But prices could be lower if there will be some energy efficient opportunities done. So what you pay, it does not equal tariffs. So the actual price is how much heat you take, but with the help of energy efficient methods, we can actually make the uh, heat and reproduce lower and the emissions also. So with that, when we actually make the tariffs on the same level, we just not allow the system to walk on, and we are not allowing the system to modernize. So we need to get ready the people to the fact that tariffs will be rising. So after that, there won't be any compensation and any program of modernization. So this year they have just excused us. The next year that won't be like that.
We have to change the tariff formation system. Now we have two models. It may be one part, one-time payment when people pay only in winter, and two-time payment when people pay in summer and in winter. But while the enterprises have their costs, and therefore the uh, expenditures are divided into variable and constant. And those that have the two-time payment model show much better results. There, there is an enterprise in a city where the population is 200,000 people, and they had said if it were not for this two-part payment, I would suffer from losses. But now, owing to this system, I have 42 million profit, and I will not show it to the state. I will invest it somewhere. So the model has proved itself. It is a working model, and this is something that does not require any expenditures. You take it and you use it. Politically, it is not good because you have to explain people that you have to pay for something in summer, but people also pay for gas in summer, and here the situation is just the same. Market monopolization. Yes, the market is actually monopolized. There are just a couple of producers in big cities. So we are talking about direct monopoly, and I will not I cannot come to your house because there will be a scandal. So It's very difficult to enter the market for competitors. For example, for competitors with green energy. And there were precedents in certain cities when the competitors were just pushed out of the market using some tools. And currently, the lawmakers uh, didn't open market entry for investors, investments and loan monies. So there are some programs, for example, in Bank, Shadow Bank, and Gas Bank, and through EIB directly. We'll see how these programs will be launched. The bank say they will be very good. There are some lower percentage interest rates, sometimes there are grants, but I think the banks probably will require certain guarantees or even certain pledges or securities. And well, we have to review the gas price and we have to achieve the market standards. What the market says, there is an enterprise, I buy 100,000 cubic meters and the house buys 100 cubic meters, then my price should be significantly lower than for you. And this is the situation in the world. The more I buy, the less I pay. These are normal market conditions. And this will lead to the fact that individual heating will probably not be less competitive as district heating. It will be less popular. Unfortunately, our country still doesn't have any statistics on domestic gas poisonings. So we do not have these statistics, how many people died from this. But according to some statistics, these deaths are quite significant. The number of such deaths is significant, and actually one of the causes is individual boilers. Targeted subsidies is another tool that can protect us from social unrest or social protests. The subsidies should be something easy. I have already mentioned it that we have about 5% of people who get subsidies in Ukraine, or probably even less. And the normal figure is considered to be up to 15%. This is the European practice. I remember those subsidies, and there were about 30% of people getting subsidies. Last year, there were probably 2 people out of 80 flats having subsidies. This is personal experience. If we take Lithuania, renewable sources of energy and heat produced from renewable sources of energy is a priority. And this heat should be bought, first of all. For example, if I use heat pump or if I use some other effective solutions, for example, I incinerate waste, then my heat should be bought first of all, and fossil fuel heat should be bought later. So in this way, the state stimulates demand for green heating. Heating market, we can talk a lot about it, and it seems to me all people have different visions how it can be developed. When we get together with different experts, we usually have lots of arguments. For example, in Germany, there is no heating market. Well, it is available, but only in big cities, and it is quite fragmented, and I would say a bit static, like a jelly dish. But in Lithuania, this market exists. And for example, in Vilnius, the heat price is regulated. In Kaunas, it is not regulated. The market determines it. And for you to know, the market has managed to reduce the price over the recent years, and it was owing to the competition. They have a sort of a stock exchange. Everybody supplies the amount to this exchange, and then everybody defines how much one can buy. We do not have it. Probably we'll have it in future. Let's believe in it. And that's everything I wanted to say. Here you have some information about our organization. We have lots of colleagues. Please join us. I like cooperation with different organizations and different partners. When it is about promoting certain political decisions, for example, now we want to promote lifting of moratorium, and well, people are afraid to cooperate with us. Well, this is life. Here you see our information. Here are our partner cities. We cooperate with lots of communities. This is my contact information. The presentation will be available with Ecoaction. These are our constant partners. So I'm ready to answer your questions because I will not stay with you later. Yes, now I will give the mic. So you were talking a lot about the way we are going to insulate the cities, but what suggestions do you have for villages? They use gas or coal? Well, I use gas myself, so heat pumps are not for us. Have a look what I did in 2020s. So I have gas boiler and I have a wood boiler. Now there is a nice solution. Solar batteries or accumulators, and the combination, uh, the solar batteries for heating water will be really good, particularly in the period when we do not have heating. So I insulated the house and the price for heating dropped twice. So I do not have any solutions that do not require any actions. Well, it's not about it. You talk about solar batteries and so on and so forth, but for rural population, they are not productive, they are expensive, and their return of investments is long. What do you mean non-productive? For example, in our territory, only 2% of people installed the solar batteries. What do you mean non-productive? They are expensive in terms of maintenance. Well, at the beginning, they are fine, but with time, their technical maintenance will cost more. What do you mean by technical maintenance? Well, some batteries, some panels undergo wear and tear. Do you have experience? I'm not going to quarrel with you, but we have installed 68 solar power stations all over Ukraine, and 5,000 a year is the maintenance cost per year. Believe me, maintenance for solar batteries is really low. We take the population, for example. There is day and night tariff. It's about electricity. And there are people who use it at night. For example, they use it in order to perform certain household tasks. And for example, they heat water at night, and it is cheaper both for the state and for people. Is it sensible to invest this money into rural areas? For example, in Dnipropetrovsk region, we have a regional plan on waste handling at the local level, and the tariff cost is fluctuating, but it is calculated starting with the income of 11,000 hryvnias. I have not understood what you are talking about. What is the tariff? So the tariff is up. So let's say you raise the gas tariff. So could you please explain to me? You have not understood it. I give an example. Currently, in Dnipropetrovsk region, we have a regional plan on handling solid domestic waste. According to this plan, we have to set a certain income per capita, and this is 11,450 hryvnias. Who is paying this? It turns out that the waste tariff will be from 67 to 89 hryvnias per month, per capita, per one resident. Please tell me, if we just leave the moratorium and if we raise the gas price, will rural population be able to live? What is the current situation now? People who do not consume gas, so for example, people who have electricity, they pay taxes. Yes, yes. So why the state should compensate with their taxes the cost of gas consumed by other people? I am an owner of a private house, and why I should compensate the cost of gas for people who live in a multi-storied building? Now we have Cherkasy, and they have heat supply, which is very efficient. And why they should compensate heat supply for Dnipropetrovsk, why it is inefficient? In the villages, the situation is just the same. No. For example, the square meters for multi-storied building, for the building. For example, let's take average figures. For example, for me to insulate my house, I have to pay 500,000 hryvnias from the beginning till the end. And this is the minimum. This is the minimum amount of money. So this is a lot for the population. And in order to save some money, well, we do not have this money. Yes, what you are talking is about is good, is fine. Probably in cities it will be efficient, but for the rural population, it is not. So if the tariffs are raised for gas or for heat, how will they live? Well, I have taken the loans, I have replaced windows, later I have insulated the house, and I did walls just one a year. The next year I did the foundation of the building. I have always been working, I have always had 3 jobs. I do not know how to help your rural population. They should work more, they should earn more. The question is where? Well, the government says we have to buy 30% of gas. 50% of capacities have been shelled, and we have to buy 30% of gas. And it costs certain amount of money. We have to buy it from Slovakia or from Hungary. Whose gas we are going to buy? We are going to buy the Russian gas, and we pay our money for the war that is waged against us. But if we save gas or if we don't use gas, probably we won't have to buy it. I will probably interfere a bit. Here, I'll ask Natalia here. I'm sorry for being emotional. Yes, definitely, we do not have simple answers here, and therefore this is our discussion here. And I give the floor to Alexander. Thank you very much for presentation. And well, your question is really very important, but my question is about a different topic. And I represent a different sector. You have said at the beginning, you were talking about a model. While we have liberalization for residents, a person may disconnect from the general network if a person thinks that it will be more feasible for him or her. On the other hand, Today we have heard certain macro expectations about our transition. So I will give my comment and then there will be a question. For example, now Germany is trying to give subsidies for boiler replacement to millions of households because they use gas and they have to stop using gas, but they spent about 100 million euros for gas subsidies. This year, probably the figure will be less. But the point is that Germany is a very technologically and economically developed countries, and still they have to provide subsidies for fossil fuels to the population because they have become aware of certain issues a bit late. So the question is more about the model. You have mentioned some measures of regulatory nature. So my question is about the developed environment, because it's a bit close to my competence. As I understand that you have been cooperating with the Energy Efficiency Fund, but it seems to me this is a litmus paper for our reality. Energy Efficiency Fund has created an illusion that we can insulate all the houses with the mechanism offered, but we do not have development of the story. We do not have the association of how multi-story buildings owners in 80% of cases. We do not have the understanding what is the final point of this energy efficiency, because the fund changes the goals, it's insulation, later this ITP's replacement. So we do not have this final goal. And again, the question is about the logic of this funding. The state is staying just as an observer, so the donors should fund it. So the question here is, there are certain measures on the part of energy efficiency. Lithuanians calculated that they will do this insulation till 2080. And again, we do this insulation with some very non-environmental materials. And it seems to me that the model of energy efficiency fund used now should be reviewed. Well, you are not responsible for this, but it seems to me that the model, it still allows people to disconnect from district heating. So it does not provide for sustainable building management model, regulating CO2 emissions and so on. So it seems to me this is a sort of a challenge that apart from those regulatory measures, certain other things should be reviewed regarding housing stock. Tomorrow we shall have a conversation on this, but I would like to hear your reflection on this comment. Thank
So I can say, or you have any other questions, man? So you can give you opportunity. So you can just start. So can you remind me of first question? I have forgotten it a bit. So about the effectiveness of this model, where are we going to? So we can create even 3 funds of energy effectiveness. You can do that. But there was the initiative in that time to initiative from Germany to create this initiative, and the fund was created. So the main budget forming elements, there was the budget of Germany, of EU, and the partner countries. So the administrating was on the World Bank and International Finance Corporation. So they wanted to do it the best possible way. So there were 2 packages. The systemic package with actual heating and insulation, and this packages actually worked. But we were speaking about the base of European Union, and they wanted to do everything right. And we were told, and they were told that all the projects should be made according to the correct regulations. So if you remember, for not for European, for uh, our, so the actually width of thickness of insulation has risen from 8 centimeters to 25. So our engineers and NGO of hidden physics, they have created such kind of standard when the population that population do not actually has these changes is able to implement these changes because the standards have been raised at that point. So the second fund from the beginning of war, it has made the financing lower, but since the beginning of war, but they have actually been working right now in the light system, and the programs of fund are still here, and it's the state body. So I just don't want to protect them. Like this program is complex, but it's complex not because it's created this way. It's complex because the workers that contractors that worked with them, they just could just lie, will give a couple of hryvnias to people, and they will make say that this object is everything. So for us to actually add the installation of some budgeting thing just to make it illegal is much easier. So some of our contractors have given lots of documents how to work with installation in businesses, and they were just working for 20, 30 years in the market, but they don't know how to do it in a correct way. It's really bad, but we need to change something there because we maybe are not adapted. Maybe you're right. Maybe we need to do it in any way possible. Maybe that's the correct way. I'm not the one to judge here. But the administration companies, they were more adaptive and they started installation faster. So they have bigger budgets. They were able to make more money on such a way, and they started doing that in a faster way. So in the times when there was a kind of program like that, seven actually buildings were insulated as the result of work of condominium association, and after that there were 60, 70 buildings insulated this way. And if we speak about positive moments here. So if we speak about damage of different materials like specific plastic foam, it's effective. It could be used for 50 years. If we speak about some particular mineral wool, it was 60% pricier. So if you take just foam plastic, you will pay 30,000, and for the mineral wool, you will pay 60,000. It's a really big difference. So I'm not against using really great materials, but the effectiveness is the same. So actually, mineral wool. Well, if there will be some water, if there will be some water inside, you just need to just throw it away. If the contractor will just make some small mistake, in 2 years it will be just off. Have I answered your question? I won't be here tomorrow, so ask questions that you have. Can I have a word? So a few comments. So thank you very much for such a presentation. My name is Katerina. I'm the representative of Kyiv. I'm the head of Kyiv Department of National Platform of Condominium Associations. And I'm the Deputy Director of the Communal Enterprise on the Development of Housing Fund of Kyiv, and I actually work with the energy efficiency questions. So the first remark that I want to make, so Cabinet of Ministers has created the program according to which on the apartment buildings we have the total reconstruction. So everybody is changing their ways. So it gives us the opportunity to actually put some regulation and save money on actual heat carrier, and it will be done with the money of co-owners. And it will be just added to the actual price that you will pay for the communal services. And all of the buildings right now of actually city housing fund are being insulated by mineral wool. If we are speaking not about balconies, but about the walls, we use only mineral wool. It's everything we have here. Like earlier, from 2022 or 2023. So up till the ninth floor, we were able to use, we could use foam plastic, and from ninth floor, there should be mineral wool used. I, I just want to check in. So this third point, speaking about housing policy and working with policy of energy effectiveness that works with the particular condominium associations. As of today, we have lots of specific cooperatives that are not existent anymore. And they, in the housing sphere, they just work as condominium associations, but without their name. And we just don't work with them or in account of energy effectiveness. So the funds of energy effectiveness has actually fallen with the cooperation with multi-apartment buildings because of high price and high requirements for work. Because when in 2020, the installation of small house in Kiev was around 5 millions, and right now it's around 15 millions. It's a really big, actually, financial damage on the co-owners because this money should be given. And right now, banks do not give any loans to condominium associations. And if they give them with a really high interest rate, and no one does that. But funds of energy effectiveness have made the system much easier. There were different packages like A and B, and we can work with that if you want to. Speaking about the administration of a residential building, so I just want you to read the information about the fact that we have the reform right now about new norms of housing policies. So you know that in each of our house there will be the particular entity, and energy effectiveness will be much higher. So what do you think? Okay, so I have got you. No, it's not right. So up till the 3 floors. Up till 3 floors, you can use the foam plastic. From third till nine, you can use foam plastic, but with the particular also insulation against the fire, and only from the ninth, so there should be mineral wool. But actually, uh, from the first floor, right now, we are doing it with mineral wool. So I just want to say that local council can do what they want to do. Like I'm just speaking about the fund of energy effectiveness that just don't they do it themselves. They don't count on the decisions by the city council. The main thing that they want is to acquire the state building norms. So I see that there are lots of different projects that are being uh, approved with foam plastic. Foam plastic is much cheap, and that's it. If there is the opportunity to insulate with it, and just to say people that you give us 20,000 or 40,000 for them, it's much easier to make it easier. So I had lots of firemen inside, and no one wanted to raise question about fire alarm or so on. All of the apartment buildings in house, they have problems speaking about fire security. So out of 20 buildings, only 10% of buildings have these systems of actually fire prevention, and each year we pay they pay 38,000 hryvnias for administration of such fire prevention services, but other houses does not want to do that because of high price. So thank you very much, Mr. Mykhailo, for such a systematic presentation and diagnostics of such a system. We have lots of questions, answers to the questions that I was interested in. Before I will ask you the question, I just want to remind you that you also can ask questions about transport to Nataliia. You can also ask questions in Zoom, and we will take a look at them. And my question considers where the gas comes from right now, with which we are doing the heating in Ukraine. Is it LNG? Is it Russian gas? So I don't know where the gas comes from. I'm not I don't have this high position, but it's right now it should be Ukrainian gas right now. So this year we should export 30%, and we do not from which. Maybe it could be American gas. It will be really great. And if it will be Russian gas, it will be just great because it will be just export of Russian gas that will be much easier to produce, to get, and it will be just not that good. So I will just want our speakers to say some ending remarks, what you want to accentuate your attention on, and we will move to other presentations. So let's keep centralized heating. It's a really great resource for our cities for the future. If there will be some communal enterprises, we can make really great money on that. I just want to say that the reform of public transportation is really relevant if we speak about also the communities in villages, because it will improve provide the transportation to regional centers, to different critical objects, to all of these spheres of population, and for elderly people, for example. Thank you very much, and thank you for such a discussion. Okay, so right now I want to get online. So we'll have two short presentation online. And the first presentation, it will be about the system of emission trading. We will have Anastasia Sydorenko here, the specialist of Ecodia on the trading system, and we'll speak about the carbon credits and how to work with them. So Anastasia, we can see you right now, and we hope that we will see you. So you can share your presentation. Okay, and she will also be able to leave questions in the chat. So I am passing the floor to you. Please, thank you very much. So a small comment. So the sound is on. Can you hear me? So Kay, please, can you hear me right now? Okay, so we can hear it right now. All right, thank you very much. So I just wanted to make a small comment to your previous really heated discussion. So maybe you have discussed it earlier. So I will speak about the also problems about the loans for condominium associations. There is a new program right now, ISSF, from European Bank of Reconstruction and Development. It's called Energy Security Support Facility. So I just want you to pay attention to that particular thing because they have interest rates and the risk of not paying this loans is given to the particular fund. So it's just my advice for you to take a look at it. So maybe you will be able to find some interesting moments of cooperation there, because they also have the grant component, and condominium association can also uh, take some interest there. And if you're interested, I will be able to send you the link. So right now we are moving on to my presentation. I will share my screen right now. So say please if you can see it. So right now we see it. Okay, so as it was mentioned, my name is Anastasia. I work with the NGO Center, Ecodia, Center of Ecological Initiatives, and I specialize on the carbon markets. And I also got the PhD in the finance law earlier, and I also have the experience of teaching in Kyiv University, Russian University. So we'll speak about really interesting topic. It's complex, it's comprehensive, but it's connected with lots of the topics that you have discussed today, because everywhere there are some uh, general thing that we need to take into account, and it's the particular making the emissions smaller. So we are speaking right now about the perspectives of introducing this system of trading in Ukraine. So we will move on the main terms without which we can't actually understand what is the system of carbon trading system. We'll speak about the markets, about the directive of EU, which regulate the system in European Union, the perspectives in Ukraine, and also we will speak about the question of this innovator mechanism as CBAM, or carbon border adjustment mechanism, that was created by European Union to the full extent at the 1st January of 2026, and it's really important and interesting.
So what is carbon price formation? This is establishing carbon price. So this is a financial mechanism within which we establish the price for greenhouse gas emissions. So this is actually implementation of the principle you have heard about, the polluter pays. Why do we need establishing the emission price? First of all, to encourage the pollutants to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from their activities and invest into eco-friendly technologies in their commercial activities. So the very pricing can be done in three forms. The first one is known. This is carbon taxes. We have the tax code of Ukraine, and you will see the tax on CO2. This is the administrative tool. Everything's fine. So it is quite widespread mechanisms used in the world. We also have carbon credits or carbon loans. This is a very complicated point. Well, there are voluntary carbon markets where companies or even state may trade with such things as carbon loans or carbon credits in order to find environmental projects and initiatives to somehow record greenhouse gas emissions aimed at net zero goals. And also we have ETS system. And for example, coming back to carbon markets, carbon market presupposes trading in emissions in order to ensure a positive impact on environment by means of streamlining financial resources to climate projects aimed at reducing emissions or carbon capturing. So carbon markets transform CO2 emissions into product because there is a price on it, and there are both regulated and voluntary ones. And we shall probably talk about regulated market with voluntary elements. So we shall talk about emission trading system. Let's imagine a system, but well, this is just a system where we have several key players. For example, we have a state and we have certain number of entities or businesses that emit some amount of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere from their commercial activities. For example, let's simplify it a bit. For example, a certain state has 10 businesses, and in order to reach net zero figures, the state says that the general amount of emissions that can be produced by such emitters constitutes 100,000 tons of greenhouse gases, for example. And that means that every business will have certain number of quotas. The quotas are distributed by means of different methods. I will not talk about it because we are short of time. For example, a certain enterprise will have 100 quotas. That means 100 tons of emissions. Another enterprise got 50 quotas. So our first enterprise getting 100 quotas for emissions understands that de facto it doesn't need 100 quotas. It managed to reduce its own emissions, it modernized its economic activity, and the emissions amount to 90 quotas. So 10 quotas are extra. And it can sell these quotas to another company that needs them because this company didn't manage to reduce its emissions. Or it may be vice versa. So this is the quota market, how it is formed and how the prices are formed for quotas. How it works in the EU, and this is the best example, actually here we are on the way to EU, and that means that in our Euro integration commitments, we are supposed to create almost the same emission trading system. Therefore, we are guided by the EU directive. It covers more than 11,000 power stations and industrial enterprises all over EU, as well as airlines. What sectors are included? Energy sector, heavy industry, where energy-intensive processes are, also shipping and aviation. And also there will be new two sectors, transportation and buildings. This is cap and trade principle, where we have, for example, certain restrictions on emissions, which are imposed on certain greenhouse gases. This is CO2, this is nitrogen formulas, and logically, the companies either get those quotas for free or buy certain emission permissions at the auctions, and later they can trade with these quotas. Now the system is on the fourth stage of its functioning and its evolution. And logically, this cap, this limit is constantly reduced. And the emissions are supposed to be reduced. And the income from quotas trading should be aimed at certain goals. So where does this money go? First of all, we have the EU budget, and there may be a different budget lines, but also there is innovation fund, which is aimed at supporting different innovation, low carbon technologies. We also have the modernization fund, which supports modernization energy systems. We also have support for national climate actions. We also have support of just transition mechanism, and these funds may be allocated for the vulnerable countries. These are developing countries. As far as Ukraine is concerned, why we are talking about it, implementation of ETS is one of Euro integration commitments of Ukraine. And actually this year we are we expect a draft law on the foundations of ETS functioning in Ukraine. It might be one of the potential names. And in February 2025, the Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine adopted a plan on ETS implementation in Ukraine. So the system will be established in Ukraine anyway, irrespective of different attitudes to this. There may be lots of rhetorical questions asked, starting with a question, can we put a price on emissions? Well, this question is not asked, and we have to understand what should be environmentally friendly and efficient ETS in Ukraine. So we are supposed to have a special system of monitoring, reporting, and verification. It exists. The law was suspended a bit. Now it has been launched again, and now Ukraine collects data on emission of greenhouse gases by the enterprises that are located on the Ukraine-controlled territories. The next important point is what will be the authoritative body regarding this system, because there are different models, and we'll see how it goes when the draft law is adopted. But there are positive practices, probably not the best ones, but this is about the commissions, and we have the special commission on securities, and we also have the commission responsible for energy market. So we may take something from their practices. Definitely, we have to create the register and the areas that will be covered. What are the greenhouse gases? What are the installations? What types of economic activities will fall into ETS? And another important element is the auctions. The auctions should be conducted quite quickly because, well, the state divided ETS implementation into several stages. Till 2028, we have a preparatory stage, creation of legal framework, establishment of institutional mechanisms. Then we have the first operational stage starting with 2028, and it may be even without the auctions, and it may be problematic because the chance is lost. And then there is the third stage, which is 3 years after the end of the martial law. So the issue about the auctions is open. An important question is where the money will go that will be obtained through the auctions. Today we have already heard about energy efficiency funds or decarbonization funds if it functions positively. So we can also think about it as well. Also, we should think about the correlation with the CO2 tax. Probably it won't be removed from the tax code of Ukraine, so we should avoid double taxation for businesses. So there should be certain like redistribution where we have the tax and where we have ETS. And a bit more about CBAM, what it is and why people are afraid of it, and why we have so many active discussions. This tool is an environmental policy tool. At the same time, it is also an economic tool and to some extent political tool. Well, this is the European Union external foreign policy tool. We see that the European Union has an efficient mechanism for carbon pricing. Carbon actually is a product, and the price in carbon is quite high. As of 2025, we can talk about the average price, which is about 70 euros per 1 ton of emissions, while the tax in Ukraine is less than 1 euro per ton of CO2. It's about 30 hryvnias, so there is no economic incentive for the enterprise. Therefore, the European Union would like to tackle the situation in such a way that certain companies inside the EU probably are interested in buying the products from the other countries which are not members of the EU because their carbon pricing is better or it doesn't exist at all. So in order to avoid this situation, in order to protect the internal consumer and manufacturer, the EU decided to implement this mechanism. This is the CBAM mechanism, Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism. It means that, for example, if a Ukrainian company wants to export its products to the EU and this product has a carbon footprint, in Ukraine, we do not have ETS. We have only this carbon tax, less than 30 hryvnias per ton of CO2. So the companies that will buy Ukrainian products will have to pay what Ukrainian company didn't pay, and this money will go to the EU budget. And therefore, it will be a big problem for Ukrainian enterprises. Probably you can see a bit distorted perception of these mechanisms in the media because the media says that the exporters will have to suffer. Well, the payment will be done by the importers. But do you understand that from economic point of view, Ukrainian products will not be competitive, or Ukrainian producers will have to reduce prices on their products? And we'll have to significantly reduce it in order to avoid those risks. And we are talking about such sectors of economy as electricity, steel, aluminium, uh, iron, in case the CBAM mechanisms won't expand further. So it's not actually about protecting the environment, but this is the issue of economic policy. And since 2026, this tool will be used in the EU. Ukraine is trying to get derogation for itself as for the country which is at war. Uh, and currently, we do not have the answer to this request, but we understand that this tool is in place and this mechanism will have a very strong economic effect. So what will be the way out of the situation if this exemption is not granted to Ukraine? If Ukraine had ETS system and the carbon pricing system will be the same as in the EU, we will have different situation. We would probably be talking about equal parties and the situation will be much easier. ETS is not a silver bullet system. It cannot be implemented overnight. It cannot raise the price quickly from 30 hryvnias to 70 euros. This will be an economic shock, but this tool will help us properly integrate into the carbon market of the EU. So my final slide is with a question mark because there are still lots of questions how this mechanism will function in Ukraine, whether it will be economically efficient, whether it will be environmentally efficient, and what we should expect regarding European carbon pricing mechanisms. So the discussion will become even more topical in future, and we shall see lots of changes in the nearest future. Thank you very much. That's everything from me. Thank you very much, Anastasia. Are there any questions? Probably some colleagues have questions. Or probably there are questions in the chat. Alexandra has a question. So here is the mic. From our morning discussion, I'm thinking about the question how visible this process are. Well, our colleague that is from rural area has already left. I'm talking about the visibility of emissions for political decision making at the local level, because it seems to me the discussions are different. And now we won't get the answer to the question, but really the discussions are different. For example, the national level, where the cabinet of ministers have to support it, and also we have the situation about the local level or territorial communities level. Do you have any ideas about it? If we take a look at this localization, when we are talking about carbon loans consequences, what will be the consequences, positive or negative, for specific regions or for specific territorial communities? It seems to me this will be an interesting situation. Any ideas about this? Thank you very much for a very interesting question. Could you please specify, are you talking about carbon loans as offsets? Are we talking about voluntary markets? Actually, I'm talking about two components. Uh, Probably neither of these two things applied to local communities or to several communities or to regional budget.
Okay, so let's actually speak about each instrument in an order. So speaking about this system of emission trading, so the question is not really relevant to the local level there. So I can just put this sum of the line of relevance. So when we are getting back to the question of usage of accumulated profits, so we do not know how they will be directed, but we can make an assumption that part, for example, could be gone to some parts of local budgets to financing of some concrete projects. And actually, it's kind of presumption, some proposal from the voices of civic society, because if we will think about the topic how the money should be spent, the first thing from, if we speak about some general means like rebuilding of Ukraine, and when we don't understand what does it mean, and when we speak about energy efficiency, we also can make the example of just transforming of particular regions of particular mono-industrial communities. It could be a really great example, because why it's important, why it will work, because there is a really high probability, and it's kind of rare that the companies that will see the not really comfortable mechanism of shall trading emission, they can put these expenses on the actual customers on, and the level will actually suffer from that. So we can think about this side and vote for the point that money from actual emission trading system will benefit the representatives of communities. But right now, we don't see the legislation and we can't speak exactly about it, but we need to have the position right now. We need to have the direct view, what we want the authority to do about it. And we need to think about it right now. And your question is really relevant in this aspect, how it will actually reflect on the local level on some particular subjects. Speaking about the carbon emission credits, loans. So if we speak about some markets, they are already introduced there. Even in Ukraine, we have some examples. I can also encourage you to go to the website Land Metrics. It's also the product of Ecodia. Like, it's not the commercial. So there are some examples there of implementation of different carbon projects. And sometimes it's really hard to understand it's really great projects or not, because on Ukraine it's really hard to actually judge. But we right now we can see example of other countries where the projects that have been introduced, these carbon projects, they had a negative effect on the local level, particularly because they have the regular story there. So it was this way. So they have generated a few number of credits. They have financed some projects to write down that we are really great. We have reduced emissions. But what was in the framework of these projects? So the holders of the projects, they didn't even ask the local communities if the community actually wants these projects to be implemented in the territory. It could be anything, like it could be forestry and so on, but they have the same trend. No one asks the local communities if they want these projects to be implemented, if they will get the part of income from this project, if they will get some kind of benefit. And their rights, they are just not taken into account, and it's really important so to take into account so that the story will won't be the same in Ukraine, because these great carbon projects, if I speak about these carbon credits, they are already here, but we still can't judge how effective they are in the Ukrainian market. But they could be more negative than positive at this point. So right now we are studying the international experience so that we will not make these mistakes. I hope that I have answered your question, and if you have clarifications, just say. So thank you very much, Anastasia. Maybe you have other questions. So if we don't have anything in Zoom, we can move on. And right now we have gone to the end of the session, and right now we can go to the coffee break according to the timing. So the coffee break will be for 20 minutes up till 5 p.m. And after that, we'll have the final session. That will last 2 hours, but it will be really diverse. It will be called Net Zero versus Nature. We'll have a lecture about the wetland role and polyculture. We also will be the discussion with the environmentalist group of Ukraine. We will also have a specialist on the protection of biodiversity, and we will also speak about the environment in Ukraine, what is wrong with it, and so on. And after that, we'll also have 20 minutes for 3 documentary movies that were prepared by Ecoclub together with national parks, about the places that need to be recognized as national parks. And we will also discuss these movies when we will have time. So please just wait for this session. It will be really interesting. So we were preparing for that, and I hope that it will be all, and possibly we'll also have this heated conversation because it's really relevant right now. It's nature, and nature is really right now in vulnerable situation. So thank you very much.